All right, here we are. Hey, everybody, this is Brian Hogue. Welcome to Chiller Night Live, where from 8 p.m. Eastern Time until 9 p.m. we will discuss all things horror, science fiction, paranormal, and of course, we will be going over the Chiller Night Theater schedule for this Saturday, July 22nd, on Stream TV. We'll put that up in just a few shakes of the werewolf's tail. How is it going this week? I hope everyone is having a good week. Let's see. I know I am. Where did my chat go? Here we go. All right. Yeah, like I said, we will be. If you don't know what Chiller Night Theater is, wow, where have you been for the last, since 2008? But Chiller Night Theater is a hosted horror show. It is hosted by Jack Shadow, the Lord of the Dark Domain, the Outer Regions, the Nether World, the place unmentionable. Yeah, so we will join Jack Shadow, and occasionally I have stood in for Jack. Do I have any pictures of me hosting? I don't think I do right now. But occasionally I will stand in for Jack Shadow when things get a little busy. So for this Saturday night on Stream TV, here you have it. Here's the schedule. There you go, at 9 p.m. Or actually, we're going to start out at 8 p.m. Eastern Time with the Chiller Night Live pre-show. This show right here is being taped right here on Tuesday, July 18th online, will be the pre-show on Saturday. And then at 9 p.m., The Mad Monster is the feature movie at 9 o'clock. 10:35, Fiend Without a Face. Then at 12:10 a.m., the movie is The Bat. Of course, with Agnes Moorehead and Vincent Price. Very good one. And at 1:45 in the morning, Track of the Moonbees. So there you have it. There's a schedule for this Saturday, July 22nd on Stream TV. You can find that at streammedia.tv. Streammedia.tv. You will not be expected to memorize it. I'll be putting that schedule back up periodically throughout the show. SBC says, hello, everyone. Looks like I'm first. You are indeed, SBC. So thank you for joining us. Yeah, you got the first one tonight. PK says, Paul says, hey there, how are you feeling? How is Ava? Give her a hug. What was the question you wanted me to bring up? Conspiracy theories. What about Area 51? Shasta, my Skinwalker Ranch, 9 p.m. History Channel. Well, we were, one of the viewers had brought up that we should do a conspiracy theory night tonight. And that's up to you guys if you want to talk about conspiracy theories. I'm going back to my comments here from last week. Here we go. Oh, Lasercorn said, awesome show. I agree. We should have a show about conspiracy theories next week. So that was Laser's idea. So, all right. If anybody has any topics, any conspiracy theories, throw them at me and each other, and we'll chat about them. Paul says, "Hey there, Chiller family." Hey, Paul. All right. So that's where that came in. Tom says, "Good evening, foul weather fiends." Good evening, Tom. Thanks for joining us. Paul says Shasta Mountain. I wondered what that was. Shasta. I didn't know what you were talking about there. So SBC says, hello, Paul and Tom. Yes. Tom says, conspiracy theories? You planned this all along, didn't you? Maybe. Yeah, Laser brought that up last week, and I was going over the comments after the show there. I saw that after the fact. I don't know if he wrote that. I think he wrote that afterwards, but but he said we should do one on conspiracy theories. Now I am ill prepared in as far as bringing up any myself. I was planning more or less on responding to the ones that you might happen to comment on. Stephanie says, "Hey y'all, what did I miss? This schedule. I'll be putting the schedule up here soon. But tonight's topic, unless we can have multiple topics, but one of the topics is conspiracy theories. If you have a favorite conspiracy theory, or maybe it's your least favorite conspiracy theory, but you want to address it nonetheless, feel free to do so. And otherwise, we will just continue to talk about, we'll chiller chat about all things horror, paranormal, and science fiction, of course. So SBC says, I have one right away. The war in Ukraine is an American proxy war. I absolutely believe that. I don't know that if yeah, that's a good one right out the gate. Sure. Paul says UFO bases are so. Well, okay. Yeah, Paul says about the UFO bases. I'm sure there's far more than just the thought of Area 51, or maybe Area 51 is just a smoke screen to get you looking over here while something is going on over here. Tom says, I can't figure out how to view comments in a reply. I don't know. Now, I can see all your comments. I don't see any on Facebook right now. I don't see any Facebook comments. Huh. Close, NATO proxy war. That would be more accurate. Tipping the scales in NATO's favor there. Paul says, UFO technology is thought to be inside, just like the massa on Skinwalker Ranch. Now, I gotta say, I'm not familiar. I mean, I'm vaguely familiar with Skinwalker Ranch. I'm not as familiar as you, obviously. I know you, and you watch that and you keep up on that, but I'm not up on that. UFO technology, of course, it's been very widely believed that since Roswell, all the way back in 1947, when we first heard about the Roswell, New Mexico UFO crash, that the United States government has been reverse engineering the UFO technology. Could very well be. Paul says, put on glasses, Tom. Maybe that will help you view the comments better. Okay, very, very good advice there, Paul. Sure, he was looking on something a little more instructional, but Victor says, hello, Brian. Great kiss shirt. All right, thank you, Victor. I appreciate that. Paul says, don't Bigfoot. Okay, well, just don't be Bigfooting out there. Don't be Bigfooting nobody that don't need Bigfoot. All right. If there's one thing that you take away from the show tonight, it would be that. So that's my advice to you. Thank you, Paul, for for that advice there, and I would just like to relay that to the other viewers. So are we? Tom says, I mean, the replay after the show ends doesn't show any comments. Oh, really? I don't know. If you look at the, okay, may wonder if I just get that. Well, how would Laser comment on that then? I'm trying to wonder. I'm trying to think. Is that something that I can just see? But I don't know. I think he commented on that after the show. Paul says, love the shirt and the first UFO crash in the 40s. Don't forget, get Bigfoot. Why? What about how? What's Paul? And Paul says, in the USSR, shaped like a BESL vessel. I'm not sure what that is. The USSR shaped like a vessel. I don't know what that is exactly, but shaped like a bell, he says. Okay, all right, like a bell. All right. So, oh, like a bell. I wonder if that's if that's related to like the Nazi bell. It's supposed to have been. I from what I'm just thinking about off the top of my head. Isn't that supposed to be reverse engineered technology that the Nazis were using? This is the theory that was used for. Was it a time? Was it for altering time? Time manipulation or anti-gravity? Maybe that was it. Well, I suppose one could ultimately do the other. Jason says, Kiss is a great band. God of Thunder, Detroit Rock City, and Beth were awesome. By the way, congrats on the poll. Oh, thank you. That should help keep us cool. But speaking of cool, Kiss was cool back in the day. Yes, God of Thunder, Detroit Rock City, and Beth were awesome, by the way. Yeah. Yeah, and I did have the privilege of seeing the original band in the original band, Gene, Paul, and Peter and Ace in concert. So they're still going at it. They're still going at it. I think they're wrapping things up. And I think, I don't know, I did see a recent interview with Gene Simmons saying that as far as he's concerned, this is 100% the last time because he says he's getting old. And I'm surprised he actually admitted that. But he says it's just too much. It just, he says he recognizes that he's getting too old to keep up with it. And, you know, props to him. Lasercorn says, hey peeps, reporting live from Lake Placid, New York tonight. Absolutely beautiful, but freaking expensive. Then tomorrow night, my family and I head to Montreal. Oh, okay. Very cool. Thank you for joining us. Hey, Lasercorn. I mentioned about the idea of conspiracy theories, so we're chatting a little bit about that. Some bits and pieces of information being thrown out here. If anybody has a favorite one, I think it's very interesting. Just the whole Roswell thing. I think I tend to believe that it was a UFO that did crash, and that we were reverse engineering this technology. Now, that's not to say I believe everything that we see up in the sky that we can't explain or that looks like a UFO is from another planet or another dimension, even, or from our future, perhaps. Um, I think some of that stuff could just be us, and what we've developed from the reverse engineering. SPC says, what about cattle mutilations? Suspicious of how many of them are near military sites. I'm thinking of bioweapons, flesh-eating bacteria. Ah, now that's an interesting idea. I gotta say, I'm not familiar with that one. That's the first time I've seen that idea about the flesh-eating bacteria. Interesting. Uh, Paul says, yes, that's it. Ketzberg, I'm impaired. Can you talk, please? Don't forget about Bigfoot. Can you talk, please? Don't forget about Bigfoot. Yeah, I'm talking. Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. That is the site of. That was the site of another kind of similar, is reported UFO crash back in what 1965 or something like that. Stan Gordon, who I've had as a guest on the show uh, several times, has talked about that, and I actually went to Kecksburg to interview Stan in front of the little acorn. They call it the acorn, the little like bell or acorn shaped UFO that they had in the background behind us as I was interviewing him. But that actually is on display in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. To this day, it was a prop that they used for, I think, in an episode of like Unsolved Mysteries or something like that. So then they still have it there today. But yeah, it's very interesting because when that UFO, reported UFO, had was falling, it actually changed course, changed direction several times, according to many of the witnesses. I'm talking about the one in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. So, Paul says, don't forget about Loch Ness. Yeah? Yeah? Oh, I never forget about Loch Ness, and nor should all of you. So, you know what? I would love to think that, the Loch Ness monster does exist. It's just hard for me. It's hard for me to believe that one. It's a little more unlikely that one's there. But it's always fun. That's a fun one to think about and to kind of let yourself believe a little bit. But the likelihood of that one is probably next to zero because they've tried to scan that lake, so many times, and just I just can't imagine something like that living in the icy waters of Loch Ness. Liz Corn says Roswell happened, Brian. Roswell happened. I do believe that. I do believe that. PK says no, Russia. Not sure. You're talking about like the markings that were on the shape of the craft or whatever it might have been. Maybe it was a satellite or something that was, had some kind of operating. They were able to control it somehow, directional control. Yeah, but that may have had. Although I would think that the military at some point they said that they described the markings almost like hieroglyphics. And I don't know. Maybe somebody would have confused something like that for Russian writing. That's possible. But the military, according to all the witnesses, again, did come in, and the media too at the time reported was talking about that. They came in very quickly, confiscated the object, and took off. So SBC says, and I have. If you go on, well, a lot of you are on YouTube watching this. If you go on this channel, Chiller Night on YouTube, if you look up my interviews with Stan Gordon, I have a few interviews with him, but we do talk about this, and he talks about this in length. So if you want to know more about that. James Jenkins says, good evening, Brian. Love UFO stories. I'm a true believer. I am too. And in fact, it's a little hard not to be anymore because, so much has come out recently within the last few years even. And even the other, I believe it was yesterday, the White House briefing, they were talking about that. And he came right out and said that because of these what are they calling them now? I'm well into my 50s. I'm still thinking UFO. They can change it, unexplained aerial phenomenon or something like that. Are actually they're absolutely real, 100% real, and they have actually interfered with military training. And that was right from the White House. So, not that everything coming out of the White House is 100% accurate and true and believable, but it is. I mean, in all seriousness, though, that is kind of profound, though, is it not? That's actually being openly discussed, where up until now, this wasn't, nothing was said or disclosed like that, on that magnitude. To me, that's a big deal. And you would think that would be like in every headline, but Yeah, who am I? What do I know? What do I know? Stephanie says, the funny thing is that the Loch Ness Monster was in Scotland, I think, and my dad's family is Scottish. Oh yeah, have you ever been over there, or have you heard of anyone from your dad's side of the family talk about that? I'd be curious to know if that's, do we make a bigger deal out of that than I'm sure the people who live right there? That's probably somewhat of a tourist attraction, I would imagine. I would, if I lived there, I'd probably be trying to sell little trinkets and merchandise of it. Why not? Why not? You'd want to probably capitalize on the story as much as you. I think it's fun. Daniel says the Earth is being invaded by Mars. A little laughy emoji face here. Well, it's who knows? Who knows? What do you guys think? I've asked this on here before, but what do you think? Where as far as the UFOs? Granted, I mentioned earlier about the reverse engineering. Some of that was, I'm sure it's ours, and you know, they could pull that story out of anywhere and do any type of false flags they wanted and say, oh, it was the UFOs. Oh, yeah, that was the UFOs. Okay. If you wanted to, I don't know, bomb a pipeline or something, or just anything. I mean, in the future, if they're running out of unbelievable scenarios, they might want to throw a UFO in there next time. Paul says, Mothman, I went to the museum at Point Pleasant. They also have a riverboat simulator there. Very cool, hand-on. Where's went to the museum. A Mothman museum? Okay. Is that what you're talking about? That would be kind of cool. SBC says, hello, Laser. Brad says, it's a Chiller Night pre-show of Brian Hogue, starring Brian Hogue. Now, here's Brian. What's on tonight, Brian? Sorry I'm late, Brian. Well, all right. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? All right, here we go. Here's the schedule. For this Saturday, July 22nd on Stream TV. At 8 p.m., the Chiller Night Live pre-show. Yes, this show right here on Tuesday, July 18th will graduate and evolve into a pre-show. That's right, we'll be the pre-show on Saturday night. So for those of you in the future on Saturday night watching this now, we are now the pre-show. And then at 9 p.m., the movie is The Mad Monster. That's right, that's the feature movie of the week, The Mad Monster. And then at 10:35, Fiend Without a Face. And at 12:10, the movie's The Bat. And then at 1:45, Track of the Moon Beast. And again, you can watch that at streammedia.tv. There you have it. We'll put that up again, no doubt, no doubt. James says, the government lies to us now. What makes anyone think they told the truth about Roswell? Very excellent point. You'll certainly not get a dispute from me out of that. Seeing X-Files TV, Paul says. Brad says, to me, UFOs, aka alien spaceships, are real and do exist. Stephanie says, well, not really, in regards to Loch Ness Monster, or her dad's side of the family. I've heard about Loch Ness Monster on Unsolved Mysteries. Okay. I'd be curious to ask, like, hey, Dad, your family's from, Scotland. Have you ever heard about this? Is this a big deal, or do we make it a bigger deal over here? Maybe that could very well be the case too. Joe Expo says, although before I get to, they have, certain areas do have their lake monster legends. It's not just Loch Ness, although that's the most famous, that one that we think of. There's also Champ in Lake Champlain. I don't know. Again, it's fun to think about. It would be neat to think that is there, that those are there. Just like Bigfoot. I find the idea of Bigfoot more believable, though, than than Loch Ness. And I'm not saying that because I find it just so profoundly unbelievable that a creature like that could exist. It's not that at all. I believe that something like that could very well exist. We just haven't found it yet. Maybe it's a relative, an ancestor of the a descendant rather. I mean, of a prehistoric creature or something like that. I could very well be. My issue with it, the only thing I'm thinking of, how would it? Because some of these lake creatures seem to be in some pretty cold areas, and I just don't know. I don't know my lake, my sea swimming dinosaurs enough to know if that was something that would be likely that they could exist in temperatures like that. That's really the only thing kind of keep. And I know that they've scanned, uh, Loch Ness for anything like that, a creature, and they haven't found anything. But you know, believe what you want. Joe Express says the aliens are pretty loose with the Federation's prime directive. Yeah, yeah, they're not really keeping to that, are they? SBC says I think the White House is just trying to divert attention from something else. A lot of people are they share that opinion as well. I know I've been hearing that quite a bit also. So you have to uh, just use the best discernment you can, because there's been a lot of things thrown at us, haven't there, especially over the last 3 years, that you definitely should use discernment on. SBC says, while you just mentioned the pipeline, it's suspicious that, according to the GPS, a U.S. aircraft carrier was in the area just a few days earlier. Gets one thinking. Paul says, does anyone listen to Ground Zero? Oh, yeah, you were talking about this earlier. Clyde Lewis on Paranormal Radio Show, Mothman Museum, is on the first floor. The simulator is on the top floor. We would be stupid to think that we are alone. I think that's probably true. Roger says, good evening. Hey, Roger, thanks for joining us. Brad says, you may never know. Heck, these creatures are just hiding out in plain sight. Never know. Never know. I saw a really interesting one today, and maybe it's something that you can Google and look up, but there was a fact. I wonder if I can show you on my phone. This is pretty cool. I mean, I don't look at this as evidence, because obviously I'd want to know more about it, and can I look this up? Bookmarks. Okay, there we go.
Species of mammoth that lived during the Pleistocene until its extinction in the early Holocene.
That's supposed to be footage of a woolly mammoth.
Beginning with Mammuthus subplanifrons in the early Pliocene. The woolly mammoth began to diverge from the steppe mammoth about 800,000 years ago in East Asia. The last woolly mammoth went extinct 4,000 years ago. A German photographer captured this during World War II.
A German photographer captured that footage during World War II, according to the claim. And I don't know, I thought that was interesting, because if you look at they're putting dinosaurs on the big screen since the early 90s. So, use your discernment, obviously. But, again, it's like the Loch Ness Monster. It's boy, it'd be so cool to believe that. And there's part of me when it comes to things like Bigfoot that I know it's our nature. We have to know, and that's good. It's how we advance in our intellect and our, that's why we covered the frontiers and settled in places that earlier societies would have been too afraid to dare try to do. So we have that inquisitiveness about us that causes us to to move on, to evolve, you know, and to conquer. But there's something in me that still, like, if they came out with all the evidence tomorrow, they've got Bigfoot, he's on video, he's right here, they're showing him live on whatever news channel you would you would want to at your own discretion believe anymore. I don't know. There's part of me that hopes that we don't know that for sure, because I like mystery. I still like that little shred of mystery in our lives. It's it's almost like we I used to think we knew too much. I mean, in a way, like we you know, there should be mystery. That's what keeps us going. That's why I love the show Star Trek. You know, because um, you know, there's always searching, exploring, you know, and I think if we have all these answers, I'm a little disappointed with that thought. Um, that's just me. That's just me. Or if I saw one, that would be really cool, as long as the world doesn't see that evidence, you know. So it'd be kind of neat if you had a sighting and you know what you saw. Or maybe you just, you know, you're uncertain, but it's still a very unique and exciting experience that you've had. You know, that's kind of unique. You know, maybe it's a little bit more special if the whole world doesn't share that with you. SBC says Bigfoot exists. I've seen him myself. He was driven over 10 cars. Yeah, you know, now that you mention that, SBC, I have seen that Bigfoot. Yes, yes. In fact, it was at the grand opening of the Cranberry Mall in Venango County, Pennsylvania. They had the Bigfoot monster truck, of course, what you're referring to, and the monster truck was there at the opening of the Cranberry Mall in what was it, 1980, 1981? I forget. But the Cranberry Mall just happens to be the location of the Chiller Night Escape Experience, horror-themed escape rooms. How's that, folks? How's that for a segue, huh? Where I have the Zombie Outbreak escape room. So if you're interested in booking that, go to chillernight.com. So, I tell you, pretty good. Paul says, look at the Marianas Trench. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I don't know if that's spelled right. I don't know if between you and I don't know, but I think everyone has the idea of what that is, because that's like the deepest part of the ocean, is to our understanding what we have, right? Stephanie says, has anybody heard of the Beast on Bray Road? I have. I saw something on, was it Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that? I watched a show on that. That was pretty interesting. SBC says, what is your favorite conspiracy theory? My favorite conspiracy theory. I don't know. I guess I'm a little hesitant to mention some of them that I'm most compelled about. You know, JFK is one of them. Because you know, here's the thing too. If you question, you know, conspiracy theory was a term, to my understanding, and I have looked into this. I mean, I've read up on this, unless the sources are wrong online. And that could be applicable to anything, any topic. But the term was coined actually by the CIA. So, and it was it's meant to, you know, if you get close to, you know, one thought is, if you're getting close to the truth, a little too close, they slap that conspiracy theory title to it, and that immediately is to get you programmed over all these decades to think, the tinfoil hat wearing loons, where that you might be right on track or right over the target with these ideas. So Paul says Joe Rogan is cool and fade to black with Jimmy Church. Joe Rogan. Well, he certainly has a large audience, does he? But what is my favorite conspiracy theory? I'd say, I have questions. JFK, 9/11, and there's a lot going on that I think over the last 3 years that, and again, I'm sitting here, on this format right here. I'm kind of limited on what I can even say. So, although I'm not monetized, but I don't know to what degree, the powers to be are going to say, nope, can't talk about that. So, a lot of stuff going on right now that you ought to be looking into. So, Tom says, of course they're in plain sight. Just look at Brian's t-shirt. Yes, do look at my t-shirt. I think it's awesome. Thank you for putting people's attention to this. Can't go wrong with KISS. Paranormal radio apps, Paul says. Brad says, see, you may never know what could be out there. We may never know. May never know. Paul says, don't forget about Coast to Coast AM show, George Norrie. Yeah, that was always, I used to really enjoy listening to that. I mean, driving around, when I worked night shifts, when I'd be on patrol back in my old police days, I'd be on the night shift, and I'd have that on in the background, and I'd listen to that, and that's where I first got, introduced to Coast, and I was like, what the heck is this show? This is like right up my alley. And Chiller Chat was created, because of that idea. I thought it was a neat idea. Let's talk to everybody. Let's talk about, hey, did you see a UFO? Come on the show, talk about it. You have an idea? Come on the show, talk about it. I'd like to get that show back up eventually. Brian says, hello all. Hey, Brian, thanks for joining us. Victor says, UFOs are real. I wholeheartedly, 100% believe that. Events are happening in our skies, interfering with the Naval and Air Force training. Yes, and that was actually talked about. I don't know if you were here earlier, Victor, when I said that, but that was actually conveyed outright by the White House just yesterday, I believe. The government does not want to inform the public for fear of criticism. No, they're informing them now. This is a worldwide phenomenon. Yeah. Paul says, they are among us. Aliens and Star Trek is preparing us for that disclosure. Paul says, Frankenstein, the first Bigfoot. Yeah, it kind of has a unique walk to him. Brad says, how is the haunted house coming along? It is fantastic. I completed the structure. Now when I say the structure, the bones of the haunted house Saturday night. All the rooms, all the hallways are done. The construction of them. Now, there's a lot that goes after that, but that's the first major hurdle, is getting the construction part. Now you just build from that. So, Paul says, the deepest part of the ocean. Yeah, yep. I knew what you meant. What is down there over, and that you might have said, or you might have had it written on there exactly as it was. What is down there over a mile deep? Interesting. SPC says the footage of the mammoth doesn't look real. Portable cameras from that time don't run such a high frame rate so evenly. Well, that's a good point. But to say more, I would have to examine the recording more closely. Yeah, and just do a little, that's something I just actually I was Paul. When I was talking to you earlier on the phone here, when I was just kind of on the, sitting out having a cigar, talking to Paul on the phone, and that's right after that is when I stumbled upon that footage. So it was just a little bit ago, earlier this evening when I came across that. So haven't looked into it myself, but it's one of those things that I look at that and it's like it's fun to imagine that's could you imagine? Could you imagine if that was real? That'd be neat. It's supposed to have been filmed in the 40s. So Daniel says Vatican City is another conspiracy theory. Supposedly they have a machine that can see in the past and future. Is that the looking glass machine? I've heard of something like that. I don't know if I'm remembering the name. James Jenkins says Greenland shark lives in polar waters. There's an idea. Well, yeah, I would think that. Well, sharks. I mean, well, look at the Titanic, and when that sank, that was in icy cold waters, and there are a lot of sharks. So, that being a fish, we know that fish can be in very cold waters, but I wonder, and again, that goes back to my saying, I don't know. I don't know my prehistoric animals enough to know the swimming ones. Are they more of a fish, or were they more of a reptile? That I don't know. I don't know my dinosaurs. Not like when I was a kid. By golly, I could have a good dinosaur conversation back then. But that's true. You never know. Yeah, if it's more fish, then I suppose. Stephanie says, I heard the beast on Bray Road is a real thing. Yeah, I'm trying to remember that, Stephanie. Was that more like a werewolf type of creature? I'm trying to remember what that was. I remember watching it. Ava and I watched that, but I don't remember if that's what that was or not. I think it was about a year or so ago when I saw that. Brad says, something tells me that there's more to the story about JFK assassination. I'm very sure that there is. A lot of big events, I'm sure, that we were told one thing, they are absolutely something else. James says, talking about Nessie. Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. I mean, it could. Tom says, of course that theory falls apart when they actually are tin hat wearing loons. I'm sure there are several of those people. There are plenty of them out there as well. But where you'd have to use your discernment with is not putting that label on everybody who thinks against the approved narrative. This is what we're telling you, and God forbid you go off and look for answers somewhere. No, get back here. We told you this. Still gonna go? Conspiracy theory. Tin hat wearing loon. Yeah, I know what you're saying. But yeah, I do. Yeah, you gotta. Yeah, I don't know. It's up to you. It's up to you what you want to look into enough, and what you choose to believe. I've looked into several things very deeply, and I wish I had more time to actually, go down the rabbit holes that I would like to, because there's a lot of stuff going on right now, even that's very fascinating, or even some of the theories. You want to call them conspiracy theories? I don't care what label you want to put on those necessarily, but there's a lot of things that we've been lied to about, and that I am 100% certain. So. Laser says, sorry, everyone, I promise I'm not ignoring you. Okay, if you say so. SBC says, I understand what you mean. I've always prided myself on being a conspiracy theorist, but unfortunately today you have to worry about what you say. Yeah, especially here. Isn't that sad though? Isn't that sad that this is where we're at right now? Um, it really is. Paul says, look at the James Webb photos on YouTube. The James Webb photos on YouTube? Okay. What's in regards to Paul's? Oh, okay. Next, I probably should have just read this. Travel Channel did a show on the Beast of Bray Road. Anyone else hear about the Jersey Devil? Oh yeah, the Jersey Devil. That's a long running legend. Yes, I certainly have. Um, Stephanie says werewolf. Yeah, I thought so. I thought that's what that was. Um, Paul says I forgot about the Catholics. What? There are also sharks that can live in fresh water for a short time. Yeah, I've heard about some of them making their way up freshwater rivers. So Lasercorn says for those who may be interested, there is a channel/film company called Small Town Monsters. Interesting. Paul says I should quit drinking. Okay. Drinking and you know how difficult that can be sometimes. Yeah. I hear you, man. I feel your pain. Daniel says the Jersey Devil, Mothman, Lake Champlain Monster, Green Man, aliens, they are all real. I don't, that very well could be the case. I go into these, and I'm sure a lot of it's from my background of, I really gotta see evidence. I gotta see that evidence, and then I have to examine that evidence. What's that? What does this mean? That's been uncovered. But before that person developed, there was that little kid in me who just I was just so interested in the monsters, and I used to get the anything I could on Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, UFOs. To me, that was the most fascinating thing growing up. And then, so as there's part of me that has so much fun thinking about that, and the possibility of those things being reality. UFOs, I mean, I'm putting that in a different category because it's been disclosed. There's no more. I wonder if those exist. They're here. Those are, and it astounds me though that that's not a bigger headline. That should be kind of a bigger deal. But you notice how that's being done. It's a drip, drip, drip. And it's. I'm very sure it's intentional over a period of time. So, James says, I'd like to know the truth about 9/11. So would I. SBC says, I also think Kennedy was the government, just like Martin Luther King. Lot of interesting, lots of interesting information coming out about a lot of that stuff. So Tom says, not trying to be contrary, Brian, just the metaphor of the tin hat does come from somewhere. I know that. I know, and some are exactly as pictured. So I yes. It reminds me of that scene on what was it? That movie with Mel Gibson, Signs, and Joaquin Phoenix. I'm thinking of the right actor who played his brother in the film. And there's that scene, a really good movie. I enjoyed that movie. One of those, I think it was an M. Night Shyamalan film about the aliens coming to the Earth and all that. So, but there was a scene where Mel Gibson's brother and the little kid are sitting in the little closet listening to the radio or watching the TV, and they're sitting there with the antenna or the foil hats on their heads. So, Lasercorn says, if you get Chiller Chat back up and running, Seth Breedlove would make an any guest, but an interesting guest. Okay, I really, my intent is to bring Chiller Chat back. I just so that's cool, and then maybe at that time, um, I can have a lot of you make those recommendations because I would love to bring that back. I love talking about stuff like this. Paul says the movie Jaws was actually a pattern of freshwater shark attacks. James Webb's photo UFOs on YouTube. Oh, really? That's cool. Laser says interesting guest. Okay, that's what I thought you meant. Um, the movie Jaws was actually pattern of the freshwater shark attacks. James Webb photos on YouTube. Huh. Well, that's if anybody wants to check that out. James Webb, WEBB photos on YouTube. Brad says, now these days everything is a conspiracy theory, LOL. Seems to be. Tom says, doesn't mean all theories are loony. I mean, we thought the coelacanth was extinct until the day we found one off of Madagascar. Exactly. Yeah, that they said that was extinct for like 65 million years or something crazy like that. Then all of a sudden, oh, here's one. So I mean, with that in mind, yeah, I mean that's one that's brought up, you know, with the Loch Ness, hand in hand with the Loch Ness monster theory. You know, that it could just be something from the prehistoric days that just didn't go extinct. They're just rare, and we just don't come across them. Paul says, just like the salmon. The freshwater fish, huh? Paul says he just spilled his beer. Oh no! Alcohol abuse. SBC says the internet is also manipulated. Yes, even the searches. So, but you get to that point right there. The search engines today show you what you are supposed to see and not what you are looking for. That is 100% true. That is a fact. That is a fact. James says, I've heard of a bull shark that made its way into Lake Erie. When, I don't know. Oh, man. That's something, though, isn't it? But yeah, I've heard of them going into the river and attacking people even in the river. I'm trying as I'm sitting there reading these to think of the show I watched on that same thing, and I think in that instance it was a bull shark also. Bull sharks are one of the few sharks that can live in salt or fresh water. Pat Savan says. Interesting. Hi, you guys. Pat Savan says hello. Thanks for joining us. Hello. Signs is the movie with the foil hats. Yes, Signs. I love that movie. SBC says, I mentioned it before. I saw a UFO in the early 2000s when I went to the bank with my mother to transfer money. That was before PayPal. A black triangular object. Oh, the old the triangle ones. Huh. Those were the ones that were because of the Phoenix lights, if I remember right. Back in what, 97 or something like that. Yeah, many people have seen those triangular ones. Those, I'm guessing, those are the reverse engineered craft that our government, or if you want to call them our government, I think there is that shadow government that has no accountability to anybody. Petzovan says, there is a documentary about the early shark attacks off in New Jersey in the early 1900s when the experts still said sharks never attack people. You know what? I think that's the one that I saw, because it did take place back, maybe it was in the early 1900s, but that's starting to trigger a memory there. Tom says, I call bull shark on that theory. Hey, let's keep it clean. Paul says, got to go see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Give Ava a huge hug for me and tell her I love her, and I'll call you tomorrow. Skinwalker Ranch, 9 p.m. tonight, History Channel. All right, Paul, you have a good night and enjoy Skinwalker Ranch at 9 p.m. tonight on the History Channel. Pat Van says, Mystic 17. Mystic 17. Is that the... what is that? Is that the group, the shadow group, the secret shadow group, Mystic 17? That's something about that sounds familiar. Maybe that's what they're called. But oh, it's 8:56. Wow, maybe we should continue. Hey, here's an idea. We continue this topic. I mean, of course, you're welcome to throw out any topics, but I think this is kind of a neat topic. Maybe we can pick this up again next week, because there seems to be a ton more, just a ton of information that we can be chatting about. So, and you viewers on Saturday night, if you're watching this Saturday night, if you want to join us live, we tape these, streams live every Tuesday night on the Chiller Night YouTube channel, Chiller Night YouTube channel, and also on these channels here on Facebook, Chiller Night Theater, Chiller Night Escape Experience, and Jack Shadow's House of Terror. So check out these Facebook pages and the YouTube channel, and you can watch this show here live and interact just like our fine frightening friends here are doing right now. So you can do that every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Shadow Group, Patsovan says, yes. PK says, great show. Good night, family. Thank you, Paul. SBC says, is our lake behind Munich? In our lake behind Munich, there used to be a snapping turtle. I didn't care much about it, but if it was a shark, I wouldn't go into it again. Yeah, I don't even know if I'd go near it if it was a snapping turtle either. But yeah, shark will do that. That'd keep me out of water. Although Ava, I got a couple minutes. Tom says, see you all next week. All right, Tom, have a good night. Thanks for joining us. I enjoy going, when we go to the beach, I do enjoy going swimming in the ocean. Ava's not very fond of that idea. I get her to come in a little bit. Takes a few steps in, but SBC says, see you next week. Stay healthy and have the aluminum foil ready. All right, have that ready for next week. Let me put up the schedule for Saturday, July 22nd on Stream TV at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, the Chiller Night Live pre-show. That's right, this show will be the pre-show. And then at 9 p.m., The Mad Monster. Boy, is he mad. The Mad Monster's at 9. Then at 10:35, the movie is Fiend Without a Face. And then at 12:10, the movie is The Bat. Of course, with Agnes Moorehead and Vincent Price. Can't go wrong there. And then at 1:45, the movie is Track of the Moonbees. So I hope you get a chance to check that out. Where? On Stream TV at streammedia.tv. Right up there in the upper right, you can see streammedia.tv. And also in the lower part of the screen there, you can see chillernight.com. Chillernight.com. Check that one out too. Give that one a look-see if you'd so be inclined. Let's see. Paul says, don't forget about Manos and Torgo. Never. We would never forget about Manos in the hands of fate. That's Van says, beaches are for sand sculptures. Night all, stay safe, Patsy says. All right, so same to you. All of you, stay safe. Enjoy your week. And have a good night. Have a good chiller night. We'll see you next week.